Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of the Anime Banter podcast with your hosts, Turtle, Sean, and Mike. Thank you for joining us today. How are you all doing today?
I'm wonderful. How's everybody else?
Doing all right. Yeah, can't complain.
Just all right.
Yeah, just all
Just
right.
just a flat, middle of the road, C average,
Yeah, it's been a C average day.
fair enough.
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to talk about these episodes today.
Oh boy, these episodes. Some stuff happens.
To say the least.
I feel like we're finally hitting the plot.
Yeah, I
Or the
agree.
plot's hitting us, one of the two.
Uh,
You guys been up to anything fun and exciting lately?
why, yes, I have at least. Some of my friends and we got together and we had what you call a taste of Japan, where we all got together and we tried a bunch of Japanese drinks. We tried yuzu, shochu, plum wine, whiskey, sake, warm, cold, and room temperature sake, and a couple different beers. And so we all got together and like tasted a bunch of alcohol together.
Nice.
It was a
Sounds
good
like
time.
a great time. What was your favorite?
Probably the whiskey. I have a bottle of the Yamazaki 12 year, and the bottles. I think it's like it's like a greater than $80 bottle of whiskey.
Wow.
So I
Huh.
brought it to the event, and
Nice.
yeah, it was. I like it a lot.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah,
Shall we jump into the anime?
let's do it.
I am ready.
Today we are talking about episodes 7 and 8 of Chainsaw Man. Episode 7, The Taste of a Kiss. So episode starts and we get a little like the end of episode 6 leads into the beginning of episode 7. It's a lot of the same stuff. Denji calling Aki an asshole for covering him and saying don't do it again, after this we're square, yada yada yada. And we see Denji jumping down the pit into the Eternity Devil's mouth and turning into the Chainsaw Devil. And that animation never gets old. I can watch that a million times and still love it.
Yeah, it's just again the animation team for this has done an excellent job. And like you said, we get the quick recap of what happened at the end of 6, and then he just jumps in and he goes to town.
Yeah, I like his. I always like the chainsaw henshin or transformation, if you will.
So Denji and the Eternity Devil start fighting. Denji's starting to get his ass kicked. There's only so much he can do with his chainsaws. And Power, of all people, is worried about Denji. She's like, yep, this isn't good. His chainsaws retract if he doesn't get enough blood. And she actually shows some concern for him. Where before this, it was always, I'm going to blame Denji for everything. I tried to screw him over and give him to the Bat Devil, like the sibling rivalry. And in this case, you could see, okay, they are like siblings. And in time of need, she's actually very concerned about him.
I mean, she's the captain of Team Kill Denji.
I'm gonna say, wasn't she also on Team Kill Denji though?
She was because she needed to get her Nobel Peace Prize.
The logic, yeah, yeah. Power's brain definitely is working just fine.
Oh yes.
Denji and the Eternity Devil are fighting. The Eternity Devil is getting the upper hand pretty frequently, and the Eternity Devil makes mention of Denji being weaker now with the chainsaws than he was before without the chainsaws. And when he said that, I'm like, yo, hold on. How does this devil know who Denji is?
I found that very interesting because the only other chainsaw form that we know of is Pochita, and he didn't seem all that powerful on his own. So that makes me wonder, was there a previous form of Pochita that was like a badass and he somehow got weakened into the Pochita that we know?
I mean, that is a good point. Pachita we knew was really tiny, but like, was he always that tiny, or is it maybe just that man's fear of chainsaws is really just not that great?
I mean, I'm afraid of a chainsaw.
If you ever go to an amusement park, or you go to a haunted house, right, around Halloween time, there's always some guy just like running around it, running after people with a chainsaw without the chain, like revving it up, and
Yeah,
it's pretty scary. People jump.
What's that one Geico commercial where it's the bad horror trope where they're running away from I can't remember this guy with a I don't know if he has a
Uh,
chainsaw, but
yeah,
they're
they're
like they run into the barn and they're like, let's hide behind the chainsaws.
Yeah, should we get in the car and drive away? No, let's hide in the barn next to the chainsaw. At the same time, if you ever played a Resident Evil game, like Resident Evil 4, for example, I know the remake has kind of just come out recently, and if you played, especially the old Resident Evil 4, there's always someone chasing you around with a chainsaw, and yeah, that'll get your anxiety up.
Absolutely.
so Denji chainsaw arms start to retract, and he just takes a bite out of the Eternity Devil and swallows it. And he makes mention of how foul it is, but whenever he's fighting and knowing that he's powering back up and everything, that it's as sweet as strawberry jam.
I love the way Denji talks. He says like stupid stuff all the time, like the strawberry jam. Like you don't need to say that, but
No,
like,
and later in the episode, he makes reference to it as like a cherry pop or something too.
yeah, I do like how unhinged he is. Like during this fight, like I can't remember what the line was a little later. Someone says that like kind of like the best devil hunters are the ones who are like kind of unhinged.
Which that plays into the Himeno flashback with her master Kishibe, and he makes mention to her that same exact thing. Like most of the best devil hunters are the ones with a few screws loose,
Yeah,
and
that's how he puts it.
he makes mention that Himeno's screws are in there pretty tight, and Aki's or screws are a little loosey, and that he wants to go after the gun devil.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that Himeno says it in the episode. Denji has no screws. His screws are missing.
Yeah, not a
Yeah.
few screws loose. You just don't have any.
Yep. Yeah, it's just like, oh, you have zero screws. What a shame. But she also realized that that's going to make him one hell of a devil hunter.
Yeah, because of that, she says maybe he's the one to bring down the Gun Devil.
Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there though. I mean, gun versus chainsaw.
It's sort of like bringing a knife to a gunfight.
Yeah, same type of concept, right?
Yeah, Gun Devil shoots the bullet and Denji cuts the bullet in half with his chainsaw. Chainsaw wins every time.
In anime, it always kills me with like the old Final Fantasy games, right? You'll have a guy like shooting bullets at the main character who's wearing no armor,
And they
and
take like 10 damage.
he gets hit. Yeah, he gets hit with like 15 bullets, takes 10 damage, and then he swings a sword once and kills a person. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I think they haven't figured guns out very well.
That's like the whole intro to Final Fantasy VII. You jump off the train, you get shot by some soldiers, and you take them out with one hit with a sword, and you're perfectly fine.
Yep, that's Japan.
I did like how Himeno used the Ghost Devil to rev Denji's chainsaw cord back up.
I had actually forgotten about that, and when I watched it again before recording this with us, I noticed that. I was like, "Oh, that's a cool detail." Because like Denji, I forget what happened. He took like a hit to the head, and like he went down, and she reached down with the ghost hand to rev him up and bring him back.
That's good stuff.
It's just a cool detail.
So we learned that Denji and the Eternity Devil have been fighting for 3 days, give or take. The Eternity Devil's ready to call it quits. He's just like, I'm done. Like, here's my heart. Just do it. I'm done with this. Just kill me. Like, I'm tired of all the pain. And Denji's like, no, I want to keep fighting. Like, I don't want to be done fighting. This is great. And then Denji's like, all right, sure, I'll kill you. And I was sort of bummed because at this point we're only like 7 or 8 minutes into the episode, and we had this 2 episode build up for this fight, and I wish we would have got more of it.
It was over very quickly, in my opinion. But I don't mind if the fight goes fast. I thought it was pretty good from the standpoint that like it was very simple, hack and slash. So the guy feels so much pain for so long that he just gives up. And I thought the concept was really cool. But yeah, you look at the time left in the episode and you're like, wait, what's the rest of the episode about? Because in usual anime fashion, it takes a whole episode to finish a battle, right? So the fact that
One
they wrapped it up so quickly with a flashback in the middle
one
was like
episode,
really
DBZ's
something.
like 10 episodes.
Or 30
Yeah.
episodes that cover 5 minutes.
Yeah, don't forget the
Oh,
movie that they would make and then make the next 12 episodes about that fight too
oh
with the anime.
no.
Clearly, these guys did not take their fighting cues off of Dragon Ball Z.
I think the only plus side for this particular episode of having a shorter fight is it really is just like bloody and gory. So I think that's why they sort of cut it down. Yes, they had like 2 episodes building up to it, and I was kind of bummed, but not bummed at the same time. Like, well, how long do you want me to watch Denji just like tear the flesh of this devil apart and just blood spewing everywhere?
And that's sort of what I was thinking too, because the Eternity Devil, his whole thing was the horror trope, like the horror lot, like, yep, you're in a loop, you can't get out, like I'm targeting everyone else but Denji. But when it came to the fight, like he was just sort of a giant blob with multiple faces that could shoot out and like bite Denji, but like he didn't really have any fighting prowess.
No, he didn't.
Well, that's a really good point, by the way. You talk about like fear of like the loop, right? Like being stuck. But you realize that's like what Denji did to him. Like the guy was just stuck in a loop of pain. He gets cut, Denji drinks blood, Denji can cut more, drinks more blood, cuts more. Like it's almost like he was torturing them by leaving them in almost a time loop. But at the same time, Denji was torturing him with his own type of loop.
Taste of your own medicine.
Yep.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
Yeah, it kind of feels that way.
Good one. Good one. I didn't think about that. That's good. I like that.
So fight ends. Denji's walking out saying, "Oh look, I got this bit of that gun devil dude, they doohickey whatever." And he's all excited. And then you could tell that he's been fighting for 3 days and is absolutely whooped and faints. And Himeno catches him.
Yeah, when they tell you it's been 3 days, I was like, wait, what? Really?
And like, did those 3 days like because they were in that time loop? Did those 3 days still move on in the real world, or was it just 3 days in that time loop?
I think 3 days passed in the real world too.
I don't know because I mean, like, according to the previous episode, they were stuck at what time was it? 8:18.
Yes.
So I'm assuming the quote unquote 3 days passed in that frozen time loop because the only way to get out of the time loop was if the devil let them out, or maybe he couldn't let them out. He had to die. Otherwise, I figured with all the suffering, he would have just let them go. But he said, "Just kill me. I'm done." So I think the 3 days happened during that 8:18 minute where they were trapped.
Well, maybe it did.
So then we see Himeno and Aki cleaning up after another devil, and Aki's like, "Hey, you know what would be great? Let's have a party. We need something to bring everyone together." Arai and Kobani are ready to quit after all the stress of the Eternity Devil, and they're taking it pretty harshly that they were on Team Kill Denji. And and she's also like, you know what? We can use this party to try and figure out what the hell Makima's deal is with Denji.
That's a really good question. What is her deal with Denji?
It's the $1 million question. So then they're at a bar. Everyone's there. Himeno, Arai, Kobani, Power, Denji, Aki, some of the other guys. And they order a crap ton of food. And I just laughed how Power is like, no, I'm not sharing my food. This sashimi is mine. This chicken is mine. Go get your own.
Hoarding all of the food.
There's a part later on. Again, I love Power's English voice actress and her deliveries. They're all drinking. They're having a good time. You just hear her in the background. Relinquish that. I was losing it. Her dialogue is incredible. I love it.
I also love how she always acts like she's the smartest person in the room. And she's like, they even make mention of like, oh, you really don't want to kill people? And she's like, yeah, because of my high IQ. And they're like, okay, well, what is it? And she's like, 100? And they're like, oh, well, that's what mine is. She's like, I mean, 125? And then someone's like, mine's 134. She's like, oh, I mean, it's between 500 and 1,000.
I love Power.
She's great. So then they're like, one of the pros is like, hey, you know what? We should get all the rookies to like, we should do a get to know them. Like, tell us who you are, tell us what devil you're contracted with, your hobbies, yada, yada, yada. So Denji stands up. He's like, I'm Denji. I'm 16. My hobbies are eating and napping. And Himeno is very concerned all of a sudden, realizing that Denji's only 16. Like, one, holy crap, he's like, is he too young to be a devil hunter? And then two, I was gonna make out with this guy, and Himeno is not 16.
Did they ever like mention her age?
Not that I
They
know of.
do, I think. I've got the wiki pulled up. Um,
I mean, I'm gonna guess maybe like late 20s, early 30s.
I know at one point, like when they're having breakfast in the next episode, she's like, "Oh, geez, I could have went to jail for doing that with a minor," but I don't think they ever really say what her age is.
Yeah.
23 according to some website.
Okay.
So 23 and he's 16, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's generally frowned upon in society, but in Japan is I don't know if I want to get into this type of discussion, but is the age of consent 16 in Japan?
I don't know.
I don't
It,
know either.
we'd probably be better off just moving on before
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
get into those weeds.
Next.
So Makima shows up and she overhears Denji is going to kiss Himeno. And she's like, "Oh, you're going to kiss Himeno?" He's like, "Hell no." And then Himeno's like, "Are you sure you don't want to kiss me? I'll make the kiss extra juicy and yada yada." And he's like, "Hell yeah, I want to kiss you."
Denji makes me laugh again.
And
Says the goofiest stuff, and he's like 100% all the time.
he's so trying to get the subject to change off of him kissing Himeno. So then Makima gets a drink, and Aki and her is like, "Hey, so like, what's going on? Like, what's the plan?" And Makima's like, "I'll tell you if you can outdrink me." And Himeno's like, "Game on!" And I love how Makima's power is just the ability to outdrink everyone.
Yeah, the old beer devil, right?
Yep.
That's her pact, right? The beer devil.
Maybe. I was gonna say because Himeno is like down. Aki puts his head down like he's just exhausted, and Makima is unfazed.
She's so unfazed she orders another drink.
Yeah, I feel like there's a devil at foot here.
So then we get the big moment in this episode.
Wait, before this, I do want to make a comment. They are ordering, and maybe we talked about it, I just somehow missed it. But when they're talking about ordering food, Denji, did this happen here? I thought it happened here.
Yeah, Denji's unable to read the menu.
He's not able to read the menu.
Oh yeah,
Like I want to make mention of that because you realize like he spent a lot of time pretty much being homeless. That like and he never went back to school and learned how to read. So like even if he did know how to read from like before he was like 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever, he hadn't kept up with it. So if you don't use it, you lose it kind of.
that's true.
It's a good
So
point.
yeah, it just cracked me up how he's just like I'm illiterate.
It's like, order me whatever you think is good. I'll eat it.
Yeah, I don't think Denji's ever going to turn down food.
No, as we see here in just in a few minutes here.
Okay, I did want to bring it up before the
Yes,
turning point of the episode.
no, that is perfectly fine. That is, I forgot about that. So then we get to the big moment. Himeno pulls Denji in and gives him a big old French kiss, and Denji is loving it. He's like, "Oh, her tongue, is that her tongue in my mouth? It's melting in my mouth. It feels so good." And then he's like, "Wait a second, that's not her tongue." And then you see Himeno pull away, and there's just a spew of puke entering Denji's mouth.
Oh my god.
And Power's like, if it held its nutritional value, Denji will eat it. His body will make him eat it.
The way they animate it, how it's all pixelated, fantastic.
Yep. And I feel so bad for Denji. Every time he like checks off one of his like goals when it comes to a woman, it goes horribly wrong.
Yeah, I
And dude,
mean,
when he swallows it,
Oh,
I,
ugh.
I don't know what else to say. I mean, I think the scene speaks for itself. I have no words.
No,
but we get a flashback to Pochita.
that was pretty awesome.
I did miss that little guy.
I was not expecting that flashback.
It's just like that flashback in particular is so rough because he's making fun of the rats eating the puke, and is he thinking about that while he's eating the puke?
Probably, but he's making fun of the rats eating puke. Meanwhile, he's eating like a half-eaten burger someone threw in a dumpster.
Yeah, I don't know. It's that whole scene.
Ugh.
There's a whole lot to unpack.
Yeah,
It is.
sort of gives me chills just thinking about,
Yeah.
and not the good kind.
Right. Yes.
So let's move on. Everyone's leaving the restaurant. Makima picked up the tab, and someone asked Kobani like if she had fun, and she's like, "Yeah, the best drinks are free drinks," and I 100% agree with that.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm on board.
That's a true statement.
So then everyone's like, "Oh, where's Denji at?" And they say, "Oh, Himeno gave him a piggyback ride and carried him out of here." And then we are back in Himeno's apartment, and Himeno just tells Denji, "Move on from Makima. Like, she's a bitch. Like, find someone better." And she also lets it slip that Aki has a crush on Makima as well.
So like we the viewer kind of knew that, but I don't know if Denji knew that or not. I don't remember if they mentioned that in the show to him.
I don't think so. It's always been alluded to, and like Aki's always been like the chivalrous gentleman when it came to Makima, to Denji's crudeness.
They even have the scene when Makima shows up at the bar or the restaurant, where Aki gets up and gives her his seat, like, "Hey, sit here."
So that concludes episode 7. Turtle, would you like to talk about the end credit song?
Yes, the song looks like it's called "Chu Teusei" by Ano, ANO, all lowercase. Again, I don't know if this is an artist or a band, but the song itself has a very like 80s pop rock surfer kind of sound with the guitar and everything. It's very upbeat, and I really liked in the beginning of the animation. It's a video game aesthetic. It's on a small tube TV. You're seeing the characters coming up. You have little text bubbles popping up, and your choices. Fight, item, talk, the option A, option B. So I thought that was a really cool setup. And then, of course, when the song hits its chorus, they have Himeno puking rainbows into Denji's mouth, and I died laughing. All in all, I like the ending song a lot. It's a cool video.
So that brings us to episode 8, Gunfire. And oh boy, what an episode we have on tap.
Here we go.
So the beginning of the episode gives us a little bit more backstory of how episode 7 ended, how Denji ended up in Himeno's apartment, and we see Himeno's routine when she gets home from the bar drunk. So Himeno carries Denji into her apartment. She goes, gets a shower, looks for a bite to eat, grabs a beer, and then she's like, "Wait, how did Denji get here?"
I love how she calls him that. She's still like totally drunk, and she's like Denji.
At the same time, for me though, that covers like the first 4 minutes of the episode. And when I was watching, I was kind of just like, "Could we move on, please?" Because I could fill in some of the blanks from the last
Yeah,
episode. So personally, and then the opening credits begin. And we like continue. I'm like, all right, guys, let's move it along. We're
yeah.
6 minutes into the episode, and we're where we were at the end of last episode.
When
That's fair.
Himeno asked Denji if he wanted to do it, I got very uncomfortable. It's like, oh, please no. Like, clearly this is an adult woman. He is not an adult yet. Like, can we please have something happen? So Himeno takes Denji's shirt off and then goes to take his pants off, and it's like, hey, why do you have a dirty lollipop in your pocket? And we get a flashback, and we see that the lollipop belongs to Makima. And Denji's all bummed out about how his first kiss with Himeno went, and he's like, "Is every kiss after this just gonna taste like vomit? I don't want to keep kissing girls if all I taste is vomit every time I do it." And Makima takes the cola flavored lollipop from her mouth, puts it in Denji's mouth, and is like, "Look, here's your first indirect kiss. That taste will fade, and hopefully the taste will be cola flavored instead."
I really like Makima's support for Denji. It's always, very awkward and rather sexual, but she's always trying to encourage Denji that, hey, it's the first time doing whatever it is this is that you're doing. It doesn't mean that it's going to be the same every time. It's a good life lesson. If something bad happens, it doesn't mean you should give up. You should keep trying, push forward because you can get past that, whatever it was. It's just Denji's is all sex related, but I just like her support where she's just trying to push Denji forward. Like, don't give up. There's more to life. Let's keep moving.
So we find out Denji thankfully does not have sex with Himeno, and go to breakfast in that morning, and Himeno's like, "Why the hell did you stick around for free breakfast? Like, you could have peaced out." And Denji's like, "Why the hell would I pass up a free breakfast? Like, I'd be crazy to not take advantage of that deal."
That goes back to his favorite hobbies of eating and sleeping,
Gotta say, one of my favorite hobbies is also eating.
and I do like sleeping.
Not a fan of sleep, but I'm also the fan of eating.
So Himeno's like, "Do you really want to go out with Makima?" Like again, reiterating like you're gonna realize that her personality is that of a bitch. Like, are you sure this is who you want to be with? And Denji's like, "Yeah, I do." So Himeno's like, "Okay, well, how about this? I'll be your wing woman with Makima if you be my wingman with Aki." And Denji's like, "What? Why Aki?" And I love Himeno's response, "Cause he's hot."
She knows what she wants.
Yep.
Yep.
But the thing I really liked about this scene was so they agree, and Himeno is the first person to call Denji a friend. Like we're halfway through this season, more than halfway through, and no one has ever called Denji a friend. He's been a dog, a pup, betrayed, called useless, like doing everything for the wrong reason. And Himeno's like, "Yeah, we're friends now. Come over for breakfast whenever. Like bring Aki, bring Makima, I guess. But like, let's hang out and be friends."
Yeah, like the 9 minutes before had me sweaty, and then they have this scene on the balcony. I'm like, wow, this is actually like really nice, and like that was just really cool and really nice for Denji to have like a somewhat normal relationship with a person that isn't just like coworker or love interest.
I've become a big fan of Himeno over the last couple episodes. So this was a really cool moment to see her just like reaching out, just being a nice person to Denji.
So then we see Makima and a fellow employee on the train, and they're on their way to Kyoto, and they're talking, and the guy's like, "Oh, you really should eat something." She's like, "I'm fine. I'll eat when I get there. Like, don't worry about it." And then all of a sudden, the passengers sitting behind them and the passengers sitting in front of them slouch over at the same time. And then they go through a tunnel, and all of a sudden, all four of them get up, are pointing guns at them, and shoot them. And then the shooters say, "They are a go." And it looked like these people are just normal people, like street clothes. Like, so were they infected by some sort of devil who hired these shooters? Like, it was very like out of left field. It was super shocking. I'm like, oh shit, did they really just kill Makima?
Yeah, I think my jaw hit the floor at about this moment where I was like, "What?"
Yeah, the scene felt odd to me. Like you could tell they were building up to something, but what exactly it was, I wasn't sure. I thought this could be one of those classic anime scenes where, like, they go to like take on one of the really important characters, and the really important character just like all of a sudden kicks a bunch of butt, right? And I thought these guys were gonna go after her, maybe kill the guy next to her, but she was just gonna take them all down, and she doesn't, and it's really weird.
I was not expecting this scene or the scenes following to happen at all.
No, me neither. I was totally caught off guard. I'm
Same.
usually pretty good at like watching because Sean and I we've watched enough anime where we can see the tropes. We're like, oh, well, this is setting up now. This is going to happen. I was not expecting this, and I had no idea what was going to go on from this point forward.
Yeah, or I thought maybe things would ramp up a little bit, but not to the extent they did.
Yeah,
Then we see Kibino and Harai helping an old woman out with a map, saying, "Oh yeah, where you're going is here." And they're starting to walk away, and the old lady smiles at them, and all of a sudden she's like, "Or execute Order 66," pulls out a gun, and we hear two gunshots.
didn't see that coming either.
Yeah, especially to like the minor characters from the last arc. I
Yeah,
was
they
like,
just introduced a couple of these characters at the bar, and they show scenes of them getting gunned down too.
So we see Power, Aki, Himeno, and Denji at a ramen shop, and they're having a great time eating, talking. They hear the gunshot. They're like, "What the hell was that? Was that like a truck backfiring?" Aki's like, "Is there a festival today?" They're all very confused. And there's another man at the ramen shop, and he's like, this food sucks. It's terrible." And Denji's like, "Hey, this food's great. Like, don't you badmouth this food." And then the guy just starts rambling, like, "Oh, my grandfather would take me to all the best food places, and he loved children, and yeah, he was an asshole at times, but he did what was necessary. He only killed a few people when he had to." And everyone's like, "What? What are you rambling about, man? Just let us eat our food." And then he goes and pulls something out of his jacket, and you're like, "Uh-oh, it's gonna be a gun." And it's a picture of the Yakuza guy from episode 1. And I'm like, "Oh shit, going to get bad in a hurry. And the guy shoots Denji and Himeno, and Power quickly punches the guy, and Aki summons the Fox Devil.
I was sweating bullets here. When I saw that picture, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's the guy from like the first episode." And then shit goes south.
And like you said, when he reaches for the photo, I was like, oh, well, this guy isn't like, he's not going to be like a gunman. He's going to be something different because I thought, like, oh, maybe they're like planting seeds for the next plot point. Then he reaches back for a gun. But yeah, shooting Denji in the head, I was very surprised about.
Yeah, it's like, oh, wait, what? Hold on, you just shot our main character. This is some Game of Thrones level shit right now. So the Fox Devil has the man in his mouth, and it tells Aki, this man is neither human nor devil. And you're like, wait, what? What? Like, it's just like one of those passing quotes you're like, gets you thinking, like, what do you mean? And then all of a sudden, the Fox Devil gets cut open, and the Yakuza guy's grandson shows up, and he has katanas for arms and coming out his face. And I literally had to stop, and I'm just like, whoa, hold on. Like, I paused the episode. I'm like, wait, what? There's someone else like Denji? Like, I was shocked at this.
Yeah, they make it a point in like I think episode 1 or 2 that like Denji's quote unquote case is incredibly unusual. And then here we are a little bit later to find another individual with a similar ability.
Yeah, I was not expecting that at all. Like, this really came out of left field for me. And also, how strong that dude is.
Oh, he's unbelievable.
Aki knows they're in trouble very quickly as he uses the sword.
Yeah.
And he stabs the guy and yells, "Fire!" And you just see a pair of lips show up, say three. And he stabs him again, yelling fire. And the lips go two. Stabs the guy one more time, yells fire, and the lips go one. And then Aki gets knocked away. And he's like, "Finish it now, curse." And we learn that the sword is the curse devil. And that was so crazy. Like, Aki's like, not even caring, like, this is going to cut my life and take a huge chunk off of it. He doesn't care. He's like, I need to protect these people. Like, Himeno's my like partner. Denji, I know, can kill the gun devil, and power is just power.
Yeah.
Power is somewhat useful.
Hey, I do want to make a quick comment. Aki is the first person we've seen have a pact with two devils, right? Like,
That we know of, yes.
because in a lot of cases, how a lot of these shows work. You make a pact with like one thing, or you have one cool ability you just use on repeat, right? Instead, this guy, like, I guess as long as you can keep paying the price, you can have a pact with as many devils as you want.
And we also find out that the Fox Devil isn't exclusive to Aki, as he's partnered with someone else at the restaurant.
We did find out. That's right. He did talk
Yeah.
about that.
That was a tall, boring, bland guy.
So a woman walks up and picks Katana Man up, and he's like, "What did you do wrong? Why did you fail?" Like, talking down to him, and he's like, "I didn't have my guard up." It's like, okay, don't be dumb. Don't let it happen again. And the Katana Man is able to stab Aki before he can even react. Like, within a blink of an eye, he's stabbing Aki and is on the other side of him.
Yeah, that's a classic anime, even like samurai movie, where they slash each other so fast that you can't see them, and they both stand there waiting for the loser to collapse.
Or spray blood like a sprinkler.
Yeah,
I guess
you got to
it,
give it a few seconds because it was so fast the body didn't realize it's been cut yet.
yeah.
So Himeno realizes Aki's in deep trouble, and she also realizes I'm screwed. So she asks Power to go take care of Aki, and Power's like, "Yeah, can't do it. This guy's way too fast. Like, I can't even see his movement." So then Himeno calls on the Ghost Devil, like, "Help me." And the Ghost Devil's like, "Nope, nope, nope, nope. Don't like that girl. She's awful. Not happening."
Yeah, that kind of caught me off guard. Like, obviously, whoever this girl is, she's not a normal girl, but the fact that she, I don't know, revived Katana Man. I mean, he seemed like he was down for the count until she appeared and picked him back up, and then he was okay. So I don't know if he was faking it or if she like revived him, but I don't know who this chick is. She is scary.
She even made mention to Aki, like, "Oh, the Curse Devil. Stab a guy enough, and the Curse Devil kills him." So this woman must have some sort of revive ability or some way to like bring devils back.
And she has incredible knowledge about other devils as well.
Also, like let's just talk about the power creep here. Like a lot of times in these shows, like the enemies kind of power up gradually as the hero fights them. But like in this case, the jump in power level between the enemies has been absolutely insane here because like all of our characters get absolutely wrecked by these two.
Yeah, with Katana Man, we just jumped up to 11.
Yeah, yeah, we really did, and it's crazy because he's not even he's less powerful than Snake Lady.
Let's also not forget, before he became Katana Man, he made mention of the Gun Devil wanting Denji's heart.
He did. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I forgot that.
So he probably has a bullet or two in him from the Gun Devil.
That's a good bet.
Yeah, because that's a power up, right? If you have the bullet
Yes.
power up.
Yeah, because it powered up the Lily Fish Devil last in episode 5.
It made him slightly larger and swim slightly faster.
Now, my question is, if you have a bullet, does he brainwash you? Like, can he control you if you eat the bullet? Like, can Denji this episode, like pop a bullet like a pill, and power up, but then just kind of like spit it out later?
That's a good question. We don't really know, like, all we know about the bullets is that it powers the demon up. We don't know if it affects humans at all. I guess it does because we're assuming that the Katana Man has a bullet in him. But we don't know how the bullets. We know that they attract back to the main Gun Devil, but we don't really know much else besides that.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume Katana Man has at least one bullet powering him up because he is like way, way strong.
And I do want to mention because you mentioned the Gun Devil once, the heart of Denji, and the heart is Pochita. And we definitely have gotten some hints the past couple episodes. There's something to Pochita's backstory that we just don't know about, right?
Yeah.
Like, why is this guy? Maybe he doesn't. Maybe it's because Denji's a hybrid. Maybe it has nothing to do with Pochita's past. Maybe it just has to do with Denji being a hybrid and how most of the time it's just people making a pact with the devil. But if you become a devil, you're just on another level, so they want to take him out quickly before he can grow too powerful. I could see that.
I could see that too, but I'm leaning towards it. It's definitely linked to Pochita himself. Now that I think about it, because when we go back to the Eternity Devil, he mentioned the chainsaw and how he was weaker than before. And if you go all the way back to episode 1, when Denji finds Pochita as a small boy, Pochita was wounded, which makes me think that he was much more powerful and somehow lost a fight or lost his power and, was wounded. So I'm thinking this is linking back to Pochita. He is more than what we thought he was originally.
So coming back to Himeno and the Ghost Devil, Himeno's like, all right, look, I need you to save Aki. I offer you everything I have left if you will just do this fight. And the Ghost Devil's like, all right. We see the Ghost Devil's arm land on the ground, and then we see multiple arms land on the ground. You're like, oh, okay, this is getting cool. And then the Ghost Devil is this giant monster with flowers for a neck, and we see it fighting Katana Man. And as the fight happens, we see parts of Himeno disappearing. First, it's one arm, then it's the other arm, and Himeno's like, "Don't you die on me, Aki. Like, you can cry for me later, but you need to live, and we'll get a drink down the road."
This scene was rough for me.
Yeah, it was pretty messed up.
I get like Himeno's, thought process. Like I'm probably not going to make it out of this. The least I could do is try to get Aki and everybody else out of it. But this scene definitely had me sweating from my eyeballs a little bit.
And it seems like the Ghost Devil's starting to get the upper hand on the Katana Man. And then the woman all of a sudden summons the Snake Devil and tells it to swallow the Ghost Devil. You're like, whoa, hold on. She has a pact with a Snake Devil, and that thing is massive and looks sweet as hell.
Oh yeah, it really sucks though because you feel like it was really all for nothing because of how quick she took out the Ghost Devil,
Yes.
and Aki didn't escape.
No. And like,
That's the thing. If it delayed so Aki could escape, you're like, oh, Aki got out, but he didn't. We're back where we started.
he's up shit creek without a paddle.
Yeah.
And he looks up towards where Himeno was, and Himeno's just gone. It's just her clothes and her eye patch, and he is heartbroken.
As was I.
I was not expecting the end of this episode at all. I'm like, okay, Himeno will like lose her arms, but they'll escape and they'll be fine, and she'll live, and her and Aki can like still be partners and everything, and she just Jedi ghosted out of there.
Yeah, I think it's a running joke, in our circle when we're talking about something where we say, everybody dies. Literally, everybody died.
So with Himeno disappearing, that concludes episode 8. Turtle, would you like to discuss the end credits?
Let me grab my tissue first. So the name of this song is called "First Death" by TK from Ling Tosite Sigure. Sorry if my pronunciation's awful. I don't speak Japanese. It has a really like hard rock vibe, and I really like the sound of the drums on this track. I don't know, something about this had this kind of like echoey effect, and it just really had this impact. And I really liked. I liked the song a lot. It was pretty good. But pretty much the animation, it's mostly shots of Himeno to make me more depressed. Thank you, show. Um, I was really getting to like her character, and then the show just pulled her away from me. So thanks, but cool song.
Overall, I really like these 2 episodes. Obviously, episode 8 was insane and probably my favorite episode of this season so far. I liked episode 7. It provided a solid resolve to the Eternity Devil arc. Like I said, I wish we got more of the fight, but I really liked seeing the team bond over dinner. It was a nice moment. And speaking of Game of Thrones, in the Game of Thrones, we have the red wedding, we have the purple wedding, we have the green wedding. Is that dinner the katana dinner? And then, like I said, episode 8 was just holy shit, absolutely insane. For the most part, I was on the edge of my seat. And how we only have 4 episodes left, and the shit just hit the fan. It's like it feels like we should have like another at least half a season, if not more, for just the amount of plot they just threw at us.
Yeah, this being a 12 episoder seems especially brutal because there's so much more story to tell, and they are not getting to it.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we have a season two already. Even though we're not at the end, I know that episode 12 will not be the end of this story. So at some point we'll get a season two, hopefully. But yeah, I also really like these episodes. Episode 7 seems a little on the slower side after it wraps up the Eternity Devil arc. But really, it's setting up the team bonding so the show can rip it apart piece by piece in front of my eyes to make me really depressed. Thank you, show. But they're great episodes. The end of episode 8 is absolutely nuts. I have no idea where it's going to go from here, so I'm very excited for episode 9.
I just want to know how the Yakuza knows the Gun Devil and why the Gun Devil wants Denji's heart. I have a feeling we'll learn that information in episode 9, or at least I hope we do.
Yeah, the amount of like agents that the Gun Devil has, it seems like the Gun Devil himself is running a organized crime ring.
Maybe the Gun Devil is in charge of the Yakuza.
Maybe.
He's a mob boss.
I mean, he has that much power, right? Like, based on what we've seen, this guy's pretty much invincible.
Yeah.
Like, who would want to mess with him?
I mean, it seems like no one's even ever seen this devil. He's too fast to see.
Well, that's what they say, but I'm sure he had to stop running at some point, right?
You would think.
Maybe he just like he ran when he was first born, and now he has more control over his abilities, whatever they may be.
All I know is I really hope we get a Denji versus Katana Man fight because that fight is going to be nuts.
They're built the same.
Yeah.
So just be two guys headbutting each other.
And so with that, we come to the waifu of the week segment. Turtle, who did you pick and why?
I have to pick Himeno. I started getting attached to her, especially with the whole, bar scene and just her befriending Denji. And I really, really was getting to like her. And now she's not with us anymore, so I'm kind of bummed about that. But yeah, I mean, just again, like Denji's first friend. She's the first person to reach out and like, hey, we should be pals. Come over and hang out whenever you want. So it's I feel like for the kind of life that these devil hunters lead, Himeno is just, a good person. She's been warped and twisted by these devils, but she still holds on to that core of, trying to do what's right and just be a good person. So that's why I picked Himeno for my waifu of the week.
Sean, who do you pick and why?
So the logical choice is Himeno here because she kind of made the ultimate sacrifice. whether it be for friendship or love or whatever reason she did. But I didn't really care for her demeanor in the previous episode, kind of going after like the underage Denji. Kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I still like her. I think she works for a noble cause, right? Because she fights the devils, and had a lot of hardship, right? Because she's lost so many partners and seen so many people die. But I also wanted to give a shout out to Denji, my waifu of the week, who, the Eternity Devil was defeated by him for fighting for 3 straight days. Cool as heck. He got to continue to pursue his goals of, kissing women and things like that. And sure, it turned on its head for him, but he gave it a go, and he even made a friend along the way. Now, I guess last we left off with him, he was shot in the head, but come on, the show's called Chainsaw Man. We all know Denji's not going anywhere, so he'll just, stand back up, I'm sure, next episode and start fighting Katana Man, or not.
I was gonna say maybe the show next week will be called Katana Man.
Yeah. Yeah, what if someone rips Pochita out of his chest and then takes Pochita instead, and they become Chainsaw Man, and Denji's arc is done forever?
It's the
Whoa.
passing of the wrestler mask.
Yeah.
Whoa. That got real dark.
Uh,
My waifu of the week is also Himeno. I was very, very concerned when she was trying to have sex with a minor, and I'm glad that didn't happen. But overall, she was just. There was a lot to her character in these 2 episodes. In the flashback with her master, she's seen at the end just muttering no, 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 no in regards to Aki, because she knows Aki's crazy enough to go after the gun devil, and she doesn't want Aki to die on her. She has said it multiple times, don't you die on me, Aki. And they're at a restaurant eating, and she even offers Aki, like, hey, why don't we go into private, like, devil hunting? Like, we can make our own hours, we can drink good beer, we can eat good food. And Aki turns her down. And the only reason she's offering this is to protect Aki. Like, don't you die on me, Aki. And then when Katana Man shows up and Aki's in trouble, she makes the ultimate sacrifice to protect Aki and Denji. And like Turtle said, she's the first person to call Denji a friend. So with that, I will say Himeno is my waifu of the week. Thank you all for joining us this week as we watch Chainsaw Man. We hope you join us next week for episode 5 of the Anime Banter podcast, where we will watch episodes 9 and 10 of Chainsaw Man. Please give us a 5-star review on all platforms that allow reviews. Turtle, do you have anything you would like to plug?
Yes, as always, you can find me on my YouTube channel, RPG Treasure Trove, where we do Let's Plays of RPG games, both new and old. Come check us out. Give a subscribe if you enjoy. Thumbs up, like the videos. Have a good time.
Sean, do you have anything you would like to plug?
yeah, you can catch me on the Deepman Files podcast. Demon spelled DEITTMAN.
The show can be found on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you all for joining, and we will talk to you next week.